Just a second, if I can have my moderator, Mr. Youngblood, and my panelists to come on camera, that would be great.
How's it going, Tremaine?
It's going excellent. Got Jeremy here. What's going on, JT?
What's going on, brother? How are you, man?
Dr. Harvey. Yes, sir. Good to have you, sir.
Hey, how you
And
doing?
Erin, is she
Yeah.
in the house?
Yep, I'm just grabbing my glasses 1 second.
Listen, you grab those glasses. It's all good. All right. So Stefan, I'm gonna turn it over to you here in a second. We'll get started in 2 minutes. Please, please, everybody, ma'am, sir, if you have questions, you can put those questions in the chat. We'll leave some time at the end. If anybody's a coffee drinker and you go get your coffee from Wawa or Royal Farm and they say leave room for cream, or you go to Starbucks, we're gonna leave room for cream at the end. We're gonna leave room for questions at the end. This is going to be an exciting panel. We have an all-star cast here. I mean, just some of the most brilliant minds in this space of AI and how it's impacting so many different industries. So excited for this conversation. I'll let introductions ensue in just a moment. Just wanted to give those housekeeping. Last thing, if we have any of our HBCU student ambassadors, I'll put that in the chat as well. Please DM me. Any HBC Universe student ambassadors, please DM me in the chat. All right, Mr. Youngblood, I'm going to turn it over to you. You can introduce our panelists or have them introduce themselves. I'll let you do your thing. And I'll be, corresponding with you in the chat. But let's leave, I guess, 5-10 minutes if you think that's okay at the end, so we can field some questions.
We're going to say that 5 or 10 minutes from when we're starting the original.
Yeah. From when we're starting, I'll give you some updates on the time in the chat directly to you.
Okay, got it.
Yep, absolutely. And all right, this is going to be a great panel. I'm going to get out of the way and turn it over to our SMEs, our subject matter experts, for a great conversation. Thank you all.
Thanks, Tremaine. Hey, everybody. I'm Stefan Youngblood. I'm down in Raleigh, North Carolina. I head up the Black AI think tank and Black AI Hub. And one of my works for the last few years has been hireblack.com. And I'm just excited to be here. I'm not going to say really anything about myself. This is really cool, y'all. I'm involved with AI. I do quite a bit of speaking in it and conferences really all the time. My little 2 cents is, maybe sometimes we can see it as an assisted intelligence or like augmented intelligence. But our experts here will have several different ideas about that. And I think it'll be really cool. So I just want to tell you, Erin, hey, Erin, it's been a while since I've seen you. Erin is, everybody here probably knows her already, but she's extraordinary in this entrepreneurial space, AI space, and you name it, putting together a company. And it's really great to have JT here as well. I don't know if we've met yet. And is it Dr. Benjamin Harvey? Just great to have all of you all. This is the future of AI. I'm looking to learn something. So, of course, we're going to start ladies first. Erin, good to see you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what you have to say this morning. Do you want to introduce yourself, Sam?
Sure. Erin Reddick, founder, ChatGPT, developer. I came from tech, big tech, contracting and full-time. So kind of like seen a lot of different sides of this industry for about 5 years before I went independent. And I am loving my journey so far, and I learned something new all the time. AI, it's like hits the reset button. It feels like every week with all the things and the new APIs you have access to, and suddenly you can build so much bigger. It's just crazy. But yeah, I love the space and I'm happy to contribute today.
Happy to have you here and looking forward to that. Mr. JT, I'll have you introduce yourself next. Great to have you here as well.
No, fantastic. Thank you all so much for having me. My name is Jeremy Treadwell, but I go by JT. I also am an entrepreneur, founder, second generation, worked in tech for most of my career with Accenture and large tech transformation firms. And I've grown into the AI space by way of a couple of things. Firstly, I'm actually a certified futurist. So I help organizations and industries think up to 10 years into the future to prepare and prevent disruption. But the second piece is coming as a developer, having been that for most of my career, and then also having a human-centered background. There's a lot of work that needs to be done with regard to trust and equity, with regard to the correlation and connection between AI and humans. So I'm excited to be here as well. Thank you.
You know, I'm not going to let that phrase certified futurist. So we're going to come back to that. Dang, I want to hear about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, boy, that's great. Great to have you here. Dr. Benjamin Harvey, sir, it's great to have you. And we'd love to hear a little introduction from you as well.
All right. So, hello, everyone. Extremely excited and glad to be here as well. So, again, my name is Benjamin Harvey. I'm the founder and CEO of AI Squared. So my company in particular helps organizations simplify and accelerate how insights from both generative and predictive models become useful for business operations and are integrated within the workflow. So it's really, for the past 5 years, it's been, let's build, and deploy models as quickly as we can. But a lot of companies have forgotten about if the models don't provide value and give you the right experience, there's no adoption. And without adoption, the highest levels of the organization may not be able to prove the value of the AI that they've been implementing over the past 5 years. So that's our focus. But my background is I'm a 3-time HBCU graduate, a PhD actually in computer science from Bowie State University. And then I went to Harvard MIT program for health and science technology to do some postgraduate work. Was recruited from the Boston area and went out to the National Security Agency. Worked at the NSA for 10 years. That was my transition over to the DMV, and ultimately saw this huge problem associated with 95% of models at the National Security Agency never making it into a mission production and application where those insights could really support the analyst and the warfighter and help save lives. So went out on a journey to solve that problem. I did a small stint at a Silicon Valley startup called Databricks. They're 60 billion plus valuation, but it really showed me how to transition from an understanding of problem mission fit in the federal government to, how do you get product market fit? How do you incubate technology and, grow to huge commercialization potential? And ultimately, started AI Squared, was, invested from Databricks through a Tier 1 venture capital organization called New Enterprise Associates. We did a $6 million round, our seed. We did another close to $15 million round in our Series A, and we're finalizing on a Series B. It'll probably be $30 to $40 million. So, we've got customers across, Coca-Cola, Vanguard, Nationwide, so some really big logos, but also for a lot of federal government contracts. So, really excited to, share more about my background and experiences, but, really excited to be here. Thank you.
All right, I'm not that good at math, but if you were to add up that, what's the valuation right now that y'all are at?
So our last round we were over $100 million valuation, but that was like I'm sorry, that's like a year plus ago. So it's probably at least 2x that right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Really great to have you here. All right, so we're gonna kind of jump into this. This is a HBCU. I love the fact that it's coming out of Bowie State. Actually, I grew up right there in that space, and my parents live there right now. Let's just kind of start with a first question. I'm going to present it to Aaron, and then everybody else will jump in. What role do HBCUs play in shaping the future of AI, and how can they continue to foster talent in the field? That's a great question.
I think it plays a great role because, one, it's not like a thing where we have to hope and wait for anything to come around and catch up to. HBCUs can take a leading role in innovating, creating labs, creating hackathons, creating just conversations and safe spaces to discuss the technology, while also bringing the reality of how it can be harmful against the Black community to the forefront. To say like, hey, we're not just the guinea pigs of like AI in policing technology or, employment technology going wrong. We see it happening, and we know how to teach ourselves and learn to create products that are more equitable. And I think the HBCU space has not neglected the importance of that. I've been invited into many conversations, I guest lecture, and I'm working on it day in and day out while the students are taking their learning to the next level. And I can just add to that from a different perspective. So the collaboration in nature is highly valuable, and it is not falling on deaf ears. So HBCUs play a critical role in making sure the future of AI is working for all of us.
Incredible. And you know, Aaron has Chat Black GPT, which is on the forefront of that right now. And it's working with HBCUs and doors open to that. Let's go to JT. Would you mind speaking into that?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to.
Okay, go ahead.
Definitely have to echo what Aaron said. No, HBCUs absolutely have the ability and the focus and the drive to really own a lot of this space. I guess I can textually say I'm a part of Bowie State. This past semester, I just taught a course in the business college at the graduate level about AI strategy for businesses.
Nice.
So what I'm saying here is that we have more of a responsibility to Aaron's point, representing AI in the Black community, but I think B, to be at the forefront of not just owning the tech itself, but owning all of the ecosystem around it, and how does it apply and impact the Black ecosystem, and the growth of our diaspora and the growth of our economic sustainability, how we scale that, right? I'll say this, I'll flip it. If HBCUs don't become involved, the risk is that AI will be created for, by, and serve the majority stakeholders that are currently in this country. As we know that there's a greater opportunity, and I'm sure we've all seen that report talking about Black wealth disappearing by 2030. AI has the ability to rewrite that story and stop it in its tracks. If we get engaged now, unless I'll begin with that risk, if we don't engage now, if we don't become leaders of industry, if we don't become owners of just AI itself, going to the chips, going into the business applications, going into the strategy, going into what comes next after AI, we will absolutely be lost. So that's a huge risk, and I want to make sure that we're at the forefront of that as well.
Yeah, that's a big statement, and I think you're 100% right. I like to say, in order for HBCUs to become FBCUs, future Black colleges and universities also, it's going to take tech and AI for sure. Dr. Benjamin Harvey, same question for you.
All right, excellent. So, so I think one really interesting thing that I'd like to throw out there to the audience is that, so whenever I go to the cookout, right, I get asked two questions. And this is from my computer science background and like being someone that has an AI company, right? So I've got this one uncle. Every time I go to the cookout, he's always asking me, he's like, "Hey Ben, can you help me fix my computer?" And that's just because of the fact that, he knows that I have a computer science background, and to him, computer science is, the physical aspect of computers, right? Can you help me actually fix my computer? But the second question I get asked, right, and this is from a general population of, non-technologists, right? They ask me, "Hey Ben, do you think that AI is going to, take over, number one, my job, and ultimately take over the world?" Right? And when I think about those questions, right, the one thing that I do always tell them is I'm like, all right, I honestly feel that you are focused on the wrong thing, and the right thing to focus on is not the fact that AI may end up taking your job, but the realization of the issue is that a lot of organizations, a lot of people, and even students right now are using AI to augment their currently existing skill set. And Mr. Youngblood, you mentioned that in the beginning of your talk, but the idea here is that the augmentation itself, when you think about people that are enhancing and optimizing and making their their efforts more efficient and effective on a day-to-day basis, it's not the fact that these things will ultimately end up taking your job, but it's the people that are using AI to augment their skill sets. Those are the ones that you have to worry about, right? Because ultimately they become more effective, more efficient, more optimized. And they're the ones that could ultimately end up taking positions from you if you are not currently equipped with the same augmentation that they are equipped with, right? You're not augmenting your skill set like they are, right? So, so when I think about from an HBCU perspective, right, it's really two things. You know, one of the big things is, you know, and I teach as well, and there's always a conversation about, you know, should we allow students and introduce some of these AI technologies into the actual workflow of the actual student, right? And it's extremely important that we do embrace these technologies, and we allow the students to augment their you know, think about their educational workflows with these AI technologies, right? And you know, the reason for it is because once they get into the workplace, and we've seen this, you know, the challenge of building AI technologies 5 years ago versus the way that these generative technologies are allowing you to create code that can help you accelerate how quickly you can actually build an AI capability is completely it's astronomical as far as how quickly these things are actually happening. So so HBCUs play an important role when it comes to being in the forefront of allowing our students to be able to augment the educational workflow with these enhanced and innovative AI technologies, right? That's number one. But number two, if you think about the challenge with generative AI technologies right now, these large language models, is all about the bias as well as some of the hallucinations and things like that, right? The answers aren't always relevant from a perspective of these prompts and responses. So there's also, from an HBCU perspective, there is a real onus on our students as well as the individuals in our ecosystem to make sure that we're actually providing the feedback, because the models are trained on the universe of data on the internet, right? Which is, you think about the amount of misinformation, disinformation, and just general bias that's out there, and the inherent models are built upon that data. So without the feedback that's necessary to actually increase the quality of the models and tune the models, these models will never be an accurate depiction of what we know as you know, a diverse set of feedback that you would hope to get right from these actual AI technology. So it's a combination of making sure that we help tune and increase the quality of these technologies, but we're also empowering our students to augment their educational workflow with these technologies as well.
That's good. That's good. Aaron, I want to ask you, because you all are you're building, and you have been for quite a while now. How are you sort of undergirding this with starting from scratch and coming in and building from the ground up?
It takes a lot of experimenting. Um, you know, you have to be mindful when you're saying you're representing like Black community, like we're not a monolith, and how do you reflect a non-monolith in a conversational technology? It's hard to do when you don't actually talk to people. So I open up a lot of my development process and design process to the community, asking for people to share their stories, essentially like with informed consent, donate real-time Black history data, and help educate them on the importance of that being like an essential part of building for us. It's not, it's like what I like to say is that classic racism is in the data. That's your like legit, like just super highly offensive text. And the modern racism is in the algorithm, when you're not willing to write in instructions and tell it to reason in a way that considers equity, historical context, and things that make our reality what it is today. And so how I explain what I'm building is that all the things they're trying to ban in the books, all the AP Black history classes, like all of those things that are actively being suppressed, like the KKK happened, you know, like that's like the core soul of my of our technology that we're developing. And so it's just like being mindful of capturing modern day sentiment while also developing new feedback loops that include today's voices, and helping to digitize, you know, historical archives and taking advantage of people who are focused more heavily on that, kind of like Latimer. and like bringing all these things together. So building it from the ground up, I know that I can't go back in time and get a degree in Black history or become a historian. I've got to work with them. I'm not going to go back and get a prestigious math degree. I got to work with them. So it's like all about community all the way around, building from scratch. It's truly like takes a village. It's not just raising kids, it's also creating technology. So that's kind of how I work. That's my mindset in continuing into 2025.
That's great. Since you're there, one thing that is related to that, can you just say quickly one challenge that you faced when building ChatGPT and that might help sort of aspiring entrepreneurs in AI that are here?
Yeah. So I have like, there's a lot of people talking about how you're not going to get venture capital. It's like 0.3%, and all of these things are true. I think it's difficult sometimes to start to innovate when you feel already that you're not going to be equipped to do so. And the reality is that even if you had all the money in the world, there's still going to be people that say you can't or you shouldn't do what you're doing. Just one example, I was at a conference, like an educational AI summit. I was being honored there, and some VC bigwig guy, he told me, he was like, well, I don't get what you're doing because eventually they're going to fix it. So what is your plan when they fix it? And I thought to myself, how many more millions and billions of dollars till they care? And why should we wait? Right? So it's like you're always going to have people telling you, not always, but people are going to tell you that what you're doing is already being worked on. We thought of that, or you can't do it. And making sure that you stay curious is like very important on this journey, and as well as alternatives. So I was just mentioning about the money and all of that, but I saw alternative funds for bootstrapping, and for me that's been public speaking and engaging in that way. So like there's no one way to be a founder or an entrepreneur or build technology, and leaning into your strengths and identifying those and aligning that with how you can draw in your own capital is like a good starting point if you ever feel discouraged.
That's good. And you speak from personal experience, JT, you as well. And so this is related to that question. As an AI professional, what key skills or knowledge areas can HBCU students, and a lot of them are here, as well as alumni, focus on to move somewhere, to actually succeed in AI? JT.
Got it. No, fantastic question, sir. So I think there's a couple of things that cross my mind. And as Aaron and Dr. Harvey has highlighted, the technology itself is absolutely moving at light speed. We have new LLMs, we have new models every day. Sam Altman just did that AMA on Reddit yesterday. We're waiting on new models to drop any moment, right? So the tech is already rolling, right? That is full speed momentum. Now, I'm going to advocate for everyone to learn Python. I think I saw an article also yesterday that all of Morgan Stanley came out and said that all of their new analysts will need to know Python, which is the coding language that AI is mostly framed around. And so understanding the technology, understanding the coding language, understanding, to Dr. Harvey's point, how do you build a model? Is it a generative model? Is it a large language model? Where is that data source coming from? Do you own that data source? Are you licensing that data source? And then how do you create the algorithms that determine how that data will be processed and what output you're expecting? And so, of course, the biggest piece of it that, professionals and knowledge areas that people should seek to understand is, how does the tech work? And how does it impact your area of business, no matter what industry you're in? I like to use the adage that all companies and all businesses are technology companies. Everyone's using Microsoft, everyone's using Google, everyone's engaging on their website, selling stuff via e-commerce, whether drop shipping, right? Every business that you can think of has a digital component to it. And it's no longer a section of the business, it's foundational. Most businesses also have a Power BI or some sort of analysis group that focuses on metrics and measurements to ensure the success of the business. So absolutely understanding the technology is critical. Read on it, understand it to the best of your ability. But I will highlight a few
No, go ahead,
areas
go ahead.
that are set out. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I will highlight a few areas that really have been standing out to me as of late, that have made a big impact in my life and how I look at AI. I did recently complete an executive program at Virginia Tech University, focusing on humanity and technology, understanding the intersection and what that looks like. And I've actually seen a huge uptick in business strategists and leaders and board members of AI companies that have a background in the humanities, understanding the unique, I guess, mindset and what it means to be a human, because we are actively building technology that has the ability to have a voice, that has the ability to echo us and respond to us in a way that we can understand. To Aaron's point, you have to have the different languages, right? AAVE and all the other vernacular English and multiple languages. So understanding the humanities will be a big component of going forward in this industry and other industries that relate to it. The second, it's a set of them that I put together around ethics, equity, and diversity. Understanding all these three are absolutely critical, but I'll start with ethics. What is right? What is wrong? What do we allow an AI to do? What is uniquely reserved for a human to do? In other AI talks, I talk about this concept of explainability. We need to build explainability into our AI models so that when it makes a decision, we can ask it, why did you make that decision? And it's able to explain itself in human terms, not just spit me out a whole bunch of lines of code. So ethics of how we allow this AI to make decisions, and is it right, wrong? How do we view that, right? What's the parameters? And you see that shift in culture by culture. Secondly, is equity. We talk a lot about the digital divide, and we have people in places that don't even have internet in this country, let alone abroad. And so if AI, and I believe it is, becoming this foundational element for technology and will soon supplant everything that we do, right? I expect in 30 years, we won't have keyboards or mice or screens. We'll have voice interaction. We'll have AI chips in our brain. But the idea is that it will truly become substantive and really foundational to how we relate to the world around us, and ensuring that we all have a voice. Aaron said this earlier. You have to reach out and build those connections and build these bridges. So I truly believe in equity as a core functionality. And there are people whose role is to bring those people to the conversation, right? If you see a homogenous group doing something and say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you inquired? Have you reached out? Have you built those bridges? If not, let me introduce you to someone who can help. And then, of course, the third piece is that diversity, right? Making sure we have not just, diversity in appearance, but diversity in thought as well. We can bring these pieces to bear so that we do build a well-rounded system. I'm sure we've all heard the story about the facial recognition fiasco, where a group built an AI model that was using facial recognition, but they had no test subjects of color, and no people of color were on the board building it, or the group, developer group. And so obviously the product fell flat on its face, because you put that in a real world environment and you see every shade of brown, to pale imaginable. But that wasn't reflected in their building environment. So I say diversity because we need to make sure that we have a diverse set of people building it, a diverse set of people testing it, and then a diverse set of people involved in what it should look like and how it should be used. Excellent. And then the third one is my personal favorite, is Maslow's hammer. I'm sure we've all heard the quote that says, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So the idea here is that we have to create a world in which everyone has the ability to expand out, see the business for what it is, and how do we start to build products and solutions that fit that, whether you're a developer, you're in the business side, or you're somewhere in the middle helping to facilitate those relationships. These are all skill sets that we should have moving forward to make sure that not only HBCUs, but as people of color, we have a greater impact into the AI revolution.
Incredible, incredible, excellent. Dr. Harvey, so I want to ask something. Your company has been wildly successful by almost anyone's consideration of it. What emerging trends in AI should HBCU students and professionals be paying attention to, and how can they position themselves to lead in these areas? I'm kind of asking this, what's coming next? Do you see, and again, this is about HBCUs and AI in the future. What do you see in the immediate next, and then beyond that?
Yep, great question. And I just want to say both JT and Aaron, thanks for the comments and the insights. This is really amazing, and specifically on Aaron, being as transparent as you were on your comments about how during this journey you're just gonna have so many people that tell you that you can't do it. So the resiliency that you have to have, and I'll come back to that to your point, Mr. Youngblood. But I think it's really important to piggyback on what Aaron was saying and the reason for it is because most people in this room, if you're here, it's probably because you've been bitten by the entrepreneurship bug at some point or another. And I think it's extremely important to understand that with the success, it is probably no, I won't even say probably, it's the most difficult thing that you're gonna ever do in your entire life, hands down. And you're gonna fail so much. You're going to, wake up and question why you decided to be an entrepreneur. And at the end of the day, your ability to have the grit and the desire to push through the what I like to call the valley of the shadow of death, because it's coming. It's a point where you you hit rock bottom and you want to give up. And 99% of companies that don't make it, it's because they give up at that point. But if you can muster up enough strength, have that internal passion built in where it's bigger than yourself, your company is bigger than you, right? It's bigger than yourself. You'll find a way to keep going, right? And that is so important. But I talk about the failures because you're gonna fail so much. You're gonna fail over and over again. It's gonna be so many people that tell you that you can't do it. You can't listen to them. And those failures, so here's the key, and I tell all of the entrepreneurs that ask me about success, I tell them this, right? If every company had an infinity amount of time to figure things out, every company would be successful. If they had infinite amount of time, right, to figure things out, everybody would be successful. But right in the spectrum of entrepreneurship and startups, time is finite. You only have a certain amount of time to figure things out. And usually that time it coincides with the amount of money that you have usually. Sometimes you're starting grassroots, but you still have some money that you're using to keep the organization going, right? So the companies that are most successful are the ones that can learn quickly. They can learn faster and put those learnings into play faster than anybody else can because time is limited, right? So you have to learn. Now that the challenge with being an entrepreneur is that you can read books, but until you fail for yourself, right? It's really hard to understand the impact of what those types of failures will have on your business, right? And that's how you learn. You learn because you're losing money, you're losing employees. People are saying that they're going to quit. There's all of these bad things that are going to happen. And as a CEO, guess what? When bad things happen, guess what they come to first? They come to you. So you have a microscope on all the bad things and the good things that happen, right? They come to you. But most importantly, all the bad things that happen in an organization, you have to make a decision on. So you have to have thick skin, is what I like to call it. And you have to be willing to be able to drive and push through. And when that valley of the shadow of death hits, and for me, it was, took the money out my 401k and, I started the company. And before I raised the $6 million of our seed round, guess what? We ran out of money. Had employees that were quitting. I faced a point where I could have either given up, but what I did is I kept going and I picked up the phone and I started reaching out and calling people, asking about VC funding. And ultimately, the idea that I had, we went from going grassroots in a sense to the VC route, right? But the point is that if I would have quit at that point, we wouldn't have been able to make it, right? So to Mr. Young, and I just thought it was really important to piggyback on that because from an entrepreneurship perspective, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but you can do it. And when people tell you that you can't, always know and understand that it's a finite amount of time that you have to be able to achieve it, right? But if you can learn, and put those into practice as quickly as you can, you will be successful. So to Mr. Youngblood's point, right? When I think about the, what you guys can, kind of see from what's on the horizon from an AI perspective, right? So, there is something called RAG, right? And that's retrieval augmented generation, right? And what this is essentially, so LLMs, large language models, are models that can take natural language and as a prompt, and they can generate a natural language response, right? But LLMs, large language models, are just a larger type of neural network or transformer model, right? But the underlying technology now, right, is not that you just build this large AI machine learning capability, but they now have mechanisms and ways that you can retrieve data in real time and use that data that you're retrieving as part of the inference results that you would get through this large language model. But what happens is that, because think about it, you can try to train a model on the universe of data that's out there, right? But guess what? There's always new data that's coming in, right? So you can't just continue to train this model every single time a new piece of data comes in. So they built these RAG systems, these retrieval augmented generation systems, so that you have this base model, which could be GPT 3.5, GPT 4, it could be Llama from Meta, or Falcon from Microsoft, it could be anything, right? You take the open source model, and that open source model acts as an agent, and it drives the responses, but it also acts as an agent to grab additional information from other sources. And it uses that in conjunction with the open source model to give you an answer. So, I heard Python, but also look up retrieval augmented generation, because LangChain, which is the leader right now in these RAG systems, has been able to create a framework that allows you to very rapidly build these systems that can factor in new data, right? Because even if you query against some of the GPT models and you ask them the most recent, a question from yesterday, it may even provide you a response and say, hey, the model was only trained up to 6 months ago, or something like that, right? But also, when you think about it, one of the big things is that now that there's the large language models are generating code, the time to build models is shrinking, right? It used to be, multiple weeks and sometimes months for organizations to build these models, but the time is shrinking, right? So because the time is shrinking to build the models, we also need to shrink the time to get the feedback to tune the models and increase the quality, right? So there is, on the data side, simulation of data, and on the back-end side, there needs to be an intersection between the models that are built and the people that can actually provide the feedback to tune the model. So there's this really cool area of work. We call it lean AI, but it's all about how quickly an organization can do they call it RLHF, the reinforcement learning with human feedback, right? These are for generative models, reinforcement with human feedback. Look that up, and then be able to take that information and get it back to the model so you can get a more quality answer.
Wow, that's amazing. That's just amazing. Aaron, did you want to comment on that? I know you all, again, are building for the future. And I just got a message. We'll make our comments, if we can keep them a little short, because I got some great questions here, and then we'll get audience questions.
Yeah. One thing I want to say is, like, don't let anybody shame you into building your own LLM from scratch. That is extremely expensive, tedious, and oftentimes can detract from what you're actually trying to do with the technology. Like, you can start from scratch, but you don't have to start from scritchety scratch to actually make impact with AI. For example, we tried both ways. You can chain together LLMs, you can focus solely on one LLM, do whatever you want. When people say, oh, it's just a wrapper, all these companies are using APIs. There's companies with billions of dollars are still using other companies' APIs and LLMs. Like, for example, when OpenAI just recently released access to their voice API. So now I can add voice into my product if I wanted. I'm not going to go try to build that from scratch, right? But people will be like, oh, well, it's a wrap. No, I'm being smart because I'm building technology as it advances along with the advancements and my access to it. So it's like, I probably won't use voice in it, but I can still be excited about it. Like, don't let anybody shame you out of how you build, because at the end of the day, you're building. And personally, I don't find building an LLM from scratch very fun. I'll just say that. So don't let that detract you or stop you. And for racism, like, people have been really racist towards me, like, oh, you take rapper to a whole new level, chat black GPT, you know, and it's just like, that noise is so irrelevant and you have to keep going. So yeah, I would definitely just like to say that however you get involved in this technology, whether you implement RAG or you're just using one API or chaining together several LLMs, do you and keep building.
Really, really, that's it. Do you? I like that. And what I'm getting from this whole conversation, don't give up. Don't let anybody talk you out of your game. Just keep persistent. And that's great. Hey, JT, I want to ask you really quick. I know a lot of people are thinking about the job market. So for students and graduates, HBCUs, what should we be thinking about when it comes to the job market and sort of preparing ourselves to be competitive in it? And again, I'll move kind of quickly through this if y'all don't mind.
Fantastic. I hate to say this. I feel like I'm a political candidate now. Let me respond to what Aaron's comments what Aaron's comments were. I think it's really important to address the fact that what Aaron just highlighted is the fact that that's a business decision, right? You have to evaluate, do I need to build, build versus buy? It's the oldest book in business school, right? Do I need to build this from scratch? What are the pros and cons? Can I rent this data? Can I rent this LLM? Can I have a subscription into this? How will this increase my usability? How will this increase my sellability? How will this impact my product as a whole? So as a business leader, as an entrepreneur, those are decisions we have to make every single day. And I've seen people buy it, rent it, right? Have a subscription, wrap it, and then later choose to build their own once they get better funding or have a certain user base, right? Have a certain scale to their business, and then say, hey, there's some things I can do now, but I can take this data, add on to it my own personal data, and then I can sell that as a product and eventually move towards my own model entirely once I have the funding, once I have the brand recognition. There's a lot of factors there. So as Aaron so eloquently put it, do you, but I'm saying have a strategy behind that. Make a plan, have that document of pros and cons versus the decision that you have in front of you. And if it's a shorter pathway, entrepreneurs are always looking for a shorter pathway to deliverability of our products and our services. If I can deliver something quickly and efficiently, I'm going to do just that and then figure out and have a plan to scale the business past potentially what my, third party or partner has the ability to do. And that has more, market share and revenue for me in the long run. But to circle back to the question, which was, kind of what practical areas should HBCU graduates do to make themselves competitive in this job market, especially focusing on tech and AI. Okay, I kind of see three main routes. I'm sorry, I like threes. Of course, the first and foremost is being a technology builder, being a person hands-on keyboard, really owning all of these functional areas, making those decisions, coding things out, building out the RAGs and using Python, using Go, whatever technology, whatever platform that you want to build the tech in. But then on top of that, from business side, I also see the ability of, in business, we talk about upstreaming and downstreaming. Upstreaming is really getting closer to, downstreaming is getting closer to the customer, meaning what's the product? What's the end goal? What's the vision? What is it that my company accomplishes and what problem, right, am I solving for my customers? Understanding that. And that's not just building the tech or building the AI, because AI still needs an interface, right? So Aaron mentioned the voice feature of ChatGPT or other platforms. I've been using the advanced feature for a couple of weeks now. It's a fantastic feature, and I'm glad they rolled it out. But beyond just the feature and the tech itself, there's an interface of how I will access that. How do I understand and how do I engage with that? Dr. Harvey mentioned adoption at the top of the call. That's a critical piece. You can build the best LLM, you can build the best RAG model, you can build the best functionality, but if no one knows it or knows how to use it, then your business isn't going to survive or thrive, right? So downstreaming really focuses on how do I get closer to my customer and being a person that's responsible for the product marketing, the product strategy, the go-to-market solutions. All of those things mean you understand the tech, but you're also in a role that's helping to translate that customer need and customer data back into the business to determine where the business goes and how they direct their resources to ensure they have the monthly active users or the daily active users or the interest that the investors want to see how the business is scaling. Secondly, I've talked about downstreaming, but also upstreaming. We saw earlier this year that Sam Altman tried to move into the chips business. That's exactly what Sam was trying to do. He had a dependency on NVIDIA and other companies to produce the chips that AI is able to run on. And so he found that to be very difficult. But if you don't necessarily have an interest in keyboarding and coding, but you love mechanical engineering and you love, chemistry and science and math, you can move into the technology industry in that capacity and build the chips that AI would need to use in order to move this ball forward. Even thinking through quantum, right? We are aware that we're hitting our physical limit on chips, meaning that we have to move into quantum, we have to move into subatomic particles in order to achieve that. We could very well have the breakthrough on this call here just by someone saying, hey, I don't want to do the AI piece, but I want to enable AI through understanding the technology that enables AI and allows us to even thinking about the internet, right? We're at 5G now, but I think a Google search, I think a ChatGPT prompt is like 50 or 100 times the energy usage, the internet usage of a Google search. So Google search. So that means we're using
1 second. We are running a little bit short on time. If you wouldn't mind, you finish the thought.
Last point. Last point, business strategists, understanding how all these ecosystems work together and making the tough choices between what you're going to deliver. I'll stop there.
Excellent. Got it. Y'all, this is so informative. And I know our audience has questions that are sort of in this line. Let's see, it's Hannah that asks, how can HBCU students excel in areas like RAGs and LLMs? And are there specific courses, certifications, or partnerships that could provide a competitive edge? Maybe if you all could just speak out some of those resources or write them in the chat, those of you who know it, but we can sort of take a short way of answering that. What are some of the things that we can do to do what you all are saying we need to do to move into the future? Dr. Harvey, do you want to jump at that first?
Yep, you got it. So, there's the traditional, academic route, where you're looking specifically, whether you are, whatever major you're in, you're looking for specifically, those, data science style courses or data analytics style courses that have the data science component within those. And those are the courses that would allow you, even if you're, as mentioned, humanities, and you're interested in actually taking a class in the computer science or computer technology department, that will give you that, diversity, or allow you to diversify your academic background from that perspective. So looking for those data analytics, data science, AI style of courses in your current, academic ecosystem, right? That's number one, right? But also there is the non-academic route where we talk about these certifications, right? Whether it's from Azure, whether it's from or Microsoft Azure certifications, or whether it's Google certifications. There's even a company that I used to work for called Databricks that they have different AI certifications as well, right? Andrew Ng from deeplearning.ai, right? He's the guy that taught the famous AI course that was on Coursera, right? There are different certifications that he has that, even LangChain has free and open, when you think about the actual certifications that you can get in some of the classes that you can take, right? So there's a lot of resources out there, whether it's a formal certification through like a Azure or Microsoft or Google or AWS, or whether it's more of a non-formal where you're getting like a mini degree, right? One of the smaller style degrees where they have like Coursera, you're taking the Coursera courses. So there's multiple routes, but you just have to find out if from the perspective of how much time you actually want to put into it. The more formal route from an educational perspective, it's going to take more time, right? Up to a semester, right? But then it's the certifications that may take a little less than that, not a full semester, a little less, right? But then it's the the many kind of degrees that you can actually get through Coursera and some of the other open. Coursera has them. I've seen Databricks that has them. I've seen even when you think about LangChain, there's some of the open source. We talked about RAGs. There's some of the open courses that you can take through LangChain as well. So those are some of the references.
It's excellent. It's excellent. And I know we have this is incredible, y'all. This is a lot of information. And I know Tremaine, that it'll be available to people afterwards. I would think the chat, there's two other great questions there that we weren't able to get to. One of them is really cool. What about people who are HBCU alumni that are trying to break into AI? Those are great questions. But Tremaine, I'll let you take it from there. Thank you so much for
yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
We're coming up on time. You know, so I want to be respectful of the conference and our host and everything like that. Big thank you to our panelists. Let's show them some love in the chat, everybody. OMG, did they drop some knowledge today? Thank you so much for Aaron, building Black Chat GPT, Dr. Harvey, and my boy, Jeremy Treadwell. Man, we go back a day or two. Really excited about some of your comments today. And thank you so much, Stefan, for moderating today. All right, everybody. This has been an incredible conversation. We'll have the playback in Bowie State's platform, the main plenary platform, so you can always go back and look. Panelists, are you guys okay if everybody reaches out if they want on LinkedIn, you know, these types of things? You know, we're in 2025, so everybody's going to want to say, how can I connect? How can I connect? You know, I generally moderate these things and I get 10,000 emails afterwards. How can I connect with Aaron? You know, type of thing. So, you know, connect with, there you go. They're putting emails in the chat and LinkedIn's in the chat. Please connect with our panelists. They are a wealth of information. I learned something. I run an ed tech company. Most know a venture-backed ed tech company. We build AI-enabled educational programming, and I learned. You know, I'm soaking this stuff up. So, you know, while we put this stuff on, I'm front row learning as well. You know, you guys talked about a rag. You know, we just did a rag at our company because they don't hallucinate as much, you know, and everything. And so, you know, we just implemented that tool. So it is a really good tool. So much good information. Everybody, thank you all for joining. You can go back to the main plenary session to be directed by our host, Bowie State, on what is next. This has been amazing. Thank you all so much. Let's show them some love in the chat as we all go about our afternoons. Thank you all so much. Have a great afternoon. Dr. Harvey, Aaron, Jeremy, Stefan, thank you all for being here today and sharing your time and expertise.
Thanks for
Bye.
having us. Have a good
Great. Thank you.
I meant to text you, Aaron. Thank you so much for hopping on today. I know how busy you are.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm happy to be here. I'm headed to the Smithsonian religion conference in a little bit.
Oh, wow. Wow. Nice. And Steph, you know, we're gonna be talking. We got more stuff in the pipeline. So
Yeah.
definitely want to get you guys involved in some of the next things we got coming up. So super
Hey,
excited.
what's the next thing that's on the schedule here?
So right after this, they're going back in it. So we turned over to Bowie State. So we controlled the morning part of it. So we did 4 sessions this morning. Now it goes back over to Bowie State, and they've got some stuff with Magic 102.3. They got some really cool stuff planned for the afternoon part of it. They're going to be doing a pitch competition. I think they're giving away like $10,000 this afternoon. So should be a lot of fun.
Is that at 1:30? I'm not on the schedule.
I don't have the schedule in front of me. I'm not really sure. Yeah, you had probably to bounce back into it is. Yeah, I just got ahead now. Somebody heard your question.
The way y'all running this is really amazing, and I like that you're keeping on schedule and stuff too.
Yeah, you got to. You got to.
Yeah.
I hate when you go to virtual stuff and everything's running 10 minutes over and 5 minutes and 20 minutes. No, that's not how we roll. Got to do it with excellence.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Aaron, what is that? That sounds interesting. A religion, something at Smithsonian. What is that?
Yeah, it's called a Religion Forward Conference, and I'm gonna meet Dr. Sophia Noble for the first time, and I'm like, so Joy, Dr. Noble, and also Fallon, Dr. Fallon are gonna be there, and I'm speaking there, but
Right.
I'm just like, it's about AI as well, so it's like bringing in tech futurism. But yeah, just Black people, and I know a lot of them are from HBCUs. It's like incredible to just continue to convene.
Is the Smithsonian kind of doing something that's Black focused, or is this for not? What is?
It's the African American Smithsonian.
Oh, got it, got it. Oh, that's great. Well, nice, nice, nice.
She just put it in the chat.
I love that. Dang.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm gonna end the Zoom now. I appreciate you all. I'm gonna text both of you all so that we can keep the conversation going. Got some other stuff that you guys might want to get involved with. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yes. All right.